Unconventional dopamine reset playbook. The health system has no real interest in this. No, I bet they don't. Hey everyone, Johnny here, Don't Speak News. I'm over at Luke Cadell's blog over on Substack. It's called Holistic Healing. I'm subscribed to it because it's very good. And so we're going to get into this today because dopamine plays a huge role in how we feel each and every day, and how we react to things. And, it's very key. So let's get into this like we always do. Most people walk into a doctor's office feeling flat, unmotivated, foggy, or addicted to their phone, walk out with one of two things: a prescription or a referral. Rarely do they walk out with an understanding of why their brain feels this way, the way it does, and almost never with a real plan to fix the root cause. That's not an accident. That is the prescription model doing exactly what it was designed to do. The truth is, a dysregulated dopamine system is behind an enormous amount of modern suffering. And the frustrating part? Most of the tools to fix it cost nothing and are available to anyone willing to step slightly outside the mainstream health matrix. But first, let's talk about what's actually going on. What low or dysregulated dopamine feels like. Dopamine's not just the pleasure chemical, that's an oversimplification that does real damage to how people understand themselves. Dopamine is your brain's motivation, drive, and anticipation system. It's what you get moving towards something, not just what makes you feel good when you get it. When that system is dysregulated, either too low or constantly overstimulated and then crashing, you will likely recognize some of these symptoms. Chronic low motivation, even for things you used to enjoy. Oh, I've experienced that. A short attention span and difficulty finishing tasks. Definitely experience that every day. Constant scrolling, snacking, or seeking stimulation without satisfaction? Check. Feeling numb or emotionally flat? Sometimes. Irritability, especially when bored? Check. Brain fog and poor working memory? Sometimes it feels that way. Difficulty feeling pleasure from ordinary quiet moments? I wouldn't say that. Reliance on caffeine, sugar, or screens to feel functional? Yes, check. I would say that. Do any of these sound familiar? Well, you're not lazy and you're not broken. Your dopamine system has been shaped largely by the modern environment and into a state it was never designed for. So, what a healthy dopamine system gives you. What's the other side of all this? This is worth pausing on because the goal is not just the absence of symptoms. A properly functioning dopamine system gives you, number one, sustained motivation, the ability to work toward long-term goals without constant external reward. Genuine enjoyment of simple things, a meal, conversation, a walk. Emotional resilience, you can handle discomfort without immediately reaching for a distraction. Yeah, that's not easy anymore, is it? Focus and follow through, starting things and finishing them. And that's not always easy anymore either, finishing it. A sense of purpose that doesn't depend on a screen or a substance. That's what you're trying to reclaim. Not a high, but a baseline that works. So what happens if you don't address it? Well, here's where it gets serious and where the conventional playbook really fails people. A chronically dysregulated dopamine system does not stay stable. It drifts. Over time, the brain recalibrates downward, requiring more stimulation to feel anything at all. That's the mechanism behind worsening anxiety and depression, compulsive behavior and addiction patterns, burnout that rest alone cannot fix, social withdrawal and emotional numbness, and a general sense that life has lost its color. So, what's the medical establishment's typical response to this progression? Well, it's always more medication, antidepressants, stimulants that only borrow energy, and system suppression, not real healing. They always treat the symptoms, never the root cause. The thing is, your brain is plastic. It responds to input. And there are specific, evidence-informed practices, along with a handful of well-researched supplements that have a direct impact on how your dopamine system functions. Some of them take discipline, some of them take about 30 seconds. All of them are within your reach starting today. Now, this one right here, this first one, I did it last night, or yesterday afternoon, I should say, on my iPhone. And it works. Before I even get into it, I'm going to tell you it works. All of a sudden, I'm not looking for my phone anymore. I mean, it's just amazing the change it made in me almost immediately. And it's kind of weird, I'll admit, at first looking at your phone in grayscale. But if you want to fix your dopamine system, here's how you get started on doing that. So this one sounds almost too simple. It isn't. Your phone, specifically your apps, they're just engineered to trigger dopamine hits. The colors, the notification badges, the infinite scroll, all of it's intentional design that hijacks your reward system dozens of times per day. Now, didn't Meta just get sued successfully over this very thing, because of what it does to teens and kids? Over time, this trains your brain to expect constant, high intensity stimulation, which makes everything else, conversation, nature, work, quiet, feel unbearably dull by comparison. Grayscale removes the neurological bait. Yes, it does. I can attest to this firsthand. Without color cues, apps become significantly less compelling, and your brain slowly stops treating your phone as a dopamine dispenser. So here's how to do it on Android and on iPhone. Now we'll leave the screen frozen here for a second before we move on so that you guys can. I recommend you pause the video here because I'm not going to reprint this. This is a paid post from him. So I'm not going to do that. So if you want to look at this and then adjust your phones accordingly, go right ahead. Now would be the time to pause the video. Android is up above here, and iPhone, of course, right here. I did this with my iPhone, and like I said, it made a huge difference almost right away. Now, all of a sudden, I don't want to look at my phone all the time. It doesn't have the allure that it used to. It's amazing what difference this made. So, start with grayscale during morning hours and see how your relationship with your phone shifts within a week. Well, mine shifted within a day. Cold showers. This is one I haven't tried yet, but I'm going to. Cold exposure, even brief, triggers a significant and sustained release of dopamine. Research suggests a cold shower can raise dopamine levels by up to 250%. And unlike a stimulant, that increase is gradual and long lasting rather than a spike and crash. It also trains something important, the ability to tolerate discomfort voluntarily. That capacity, practiced regularly, transfers directly into how you handle the everyday friction of difficult tasks. Start with 30 seconds of cold at the end of a normal shower and work up from there. Number 3, a morning walk. No phone, no music, preferably in the sun. This is arguably the most underrated tool in this entire article, and that's what I'm going to go do here very soon. A walk on an empty stomach in natural light with no audio input does several things simultaneously. It resets your circadian rhythm, which regulates dopamine cycles, exposes you to low-level novel stimulation that gently activates the reward system and gives your brain a rare window of unstimulated processing time. The no phone, no music element is non-negotiable. The whole point is to allow your nervous system to find stimulation in the real world again, to lower the threshold back to where ordinary life feels interesting. 20 to 30 minutes, that's all it takes. And then 4 smaller habits worth trying. A dopamine contrast. Pair a low stimulation task like cleaning, organizing, laundry with something enjoyable, a podcast or audiobook. The contrast between the mundane activity and the reward trains your brain to associate effort with a payoff, and you actually get things done in the process. Very good advice. Number 2, don't repeat the same reward twice in a day. If you listen to music in the morning, skip it in the evening. If you have a treat after lunch, don't have the same one after dinner. Novelty is what drives dopamine. Repetition dulls it. Rotating your rewards keeps the system sensitive. Number 3, mild discomfort before rewards. Before reaching for your phone, a snack, or entertainment, pause and do something mildly uncomfortable first. A few push-ups, a cold splash of water, 3 minutes of a task that you've been avoiding. This recreates the effort reward loop that dopamine was actually designed to reinforce. Number 4, app blocking and time limits. Use your phone's built-in screen time tools or a third-party app blocker to create hard limits on your highest stimulation apps. Instagram, TikTok, YouTube Shorts, these are the biggest offenders. I would agree. That's why I don't use TikTok. I can't stand it. Even a 1 hour daily limit creates a measurable reduction in baseline overstimulation within a few days. Now we have supplements that support dopamine. These work by removing deficiencies and supporting the biochemical processes your brain uses to produce and regulate dopamine naturally. And here we have magnesium once again. I talk about this mineral all the time, and here it is once again. And there's reasons for that. It's involved in over 300 enzymatic reactions, including those that govern neurotransmitter production and receptor sensitivity. Most people in the modern world are deficient, partly because of depleted soil and processed food. Yep. Low magnesium impairs the brain's ability to regulate dopamine effectively. Supplementing, particularly with magnesium glycinate or chloride, I have both, supports calmer, more stable dopamine production. It also improves sleep, which is one of the most powerful dopamine regulators there is. And another reason that we need 8 hours of it, which I rarely get anymore. Zinc. Zinc plays a direct role in dopamine synthesis and in regulating dopamine transporters, the proteins that control how long dopamine remains active in the brain. And it's something I take daily. Deficiency is associated with low mood, poor focus, and blunted motivation. Zinc also modulates the dopamine receptors themselves, helping maintain their sensitivity over time. A standard dose of 15 to 25 milligrams per day is a reasonable starting point for most people. Then we have NAC, or N-acetyl cysteine. NAC is a precursor to glutathione, the body's master antioxidant, but its relevance here is different. NAC helps regulate glutamate, a neurotransmitter that, when dysregulated, disrupts the dopamine system significantly. It has been studied in the context of compulsive behavior, addiction, OCD, all of which involve dopamine dysregulation. It essentially helps quiet the parts of the brain that drive compulsive seeking, which is exactly what an overstimulated dopamine system does. And then there's also yerba mate. It deserves its own mention because it acts on the dopamine system in a genuinely interesting way. It contains a combination of caffeine, theobromine, and theophylline, but it also a compound called theobromine that modulates dopamine and serotonin receptors without the sharp spike and crash of coffee. Many people find that yerba mate produces a clean, focused, motivated state that feels different from other stimulants, more sustained and less anxious. It also contains antioxidants that support brain health more broadly. If you're currently relying on coffee for motivation and finding it less effective over time, yerba mate is worth trying as an alternative or a rotation. And that's a really good idea, something I'm thinking about trying. Your dopamine system was not always like this. It was shaped by the environment you're living in, and environments can be changed. None of this requires a prescription, which is why Big Pharma won't like it. None of it requires outsourcing your health to a system that profits from keeping you stuck and sick. Stay outside the modern health system. I would agree with Luke here. And there you go. I hope this helps. I hope this gives you some ideas and has informed you a little bit about your dopamine system and what it does. So, and what dysregulated dopamine systems feel like, which I think we've all felt these things, right? Especially over the last 6 years, as we've been going through spiritual and psychological warfare on a scale never seen before, because we are in the Great Tribulation. So, anyway, that will be it for this particular episode. Like I said, I pray that it's a blessing and this finds who it needs to find. God bless, take care. Johnny Storm, Don't Speak News.